Hi everyone, welcome to A Stitch in Time. Today is Thursday, March 21st, 2024, and this is episode 280. I'm Carol, also known as Knits and Pearls on Ravelry, and I live east of Vancouver in the Fraser Valley of British Columbia, Canada. How are you all doing? I hope you had a good week since we last spoke. Yes, it's only been a week. I was planning to record next week to keep up with my bi-weekly schedule, but it's turning out to be pretty full. It is spring break here this week and next, and so I'm going to be looking after my younger granddaughter for a couple of days. And plus, because it's spring break, my best friend is off work, and so she's going to come out next Thursday for a visit. I can't wait to see her. It's been way too long. And plus, I just have lots of things to share with you today. And so I thought, you know what, I'm just going to sit down and record. It's going to be one of those kind of stream of consciousness type videos. I do have some show notes, but it's going to be pretty loosey-goosey, I think. I didn't even take the time to put any makeup on other than a bit of eyeliner, but I didn't think you'd mind. And then I thought I would just take advantage of the morning light here in our downstairs spare room rather than wait till the afternoon. And then that way I can get things edited and uploaded, hopefully before my husband gets home from work, because we have plans for the evening. So I'm also going to do things a little bit out of turn. I'm going to start with the life stuff and move into the knitting stuff rather than the other way around like I usually do. It's hard to believe. I was thinking, oh, maybe today was the first day of spring. I hadn't really noticed, but that was on Tuesday, the 19th. But I have pulled out my spring-themed David's tea mug and put away my winter one. So I guess spring is officially here, which is awesome. We had some amazing weather this past week, although we've gone back now to some overcast skies and some rain. But my crocuses are almost done and my daffodils are just starting to open. So it's just nice to see all those signs of spring. I know I talked about that a little bit last week, but I think I know a lot of you feel the same way, I'm sure. Those of you who live in the northern hemisphere, that is, that as enjoyable as winter can be with its cozy days and evenings, it's nice to have things get a little bit warmer and see all the plants come back to life. So as I mentioned last week, I was expecting back up. I want to say thank you to all of you who reached out and wished me a happy 60th birthday. I was overwhelmed by all of your outpouring of good wishes, and so thank you so much for that. I had just an amazing birthday weekend. Yes, the fun was not limited to just one day. And it was just, I knew it was going to be a great weekend, but it even exceeded my expectations. So as I mentioned last episode, my sister and brother-in-law from Toronto were scheduled to arrive the next day and spend a few days here with us. And unfortunately, their flight was delayed about 5 hours. They were leaving Toronto just as they were supposed to be landing in Vancouver. But they did get here, thankfully, and as planned. One of my sister's oldest friends from high school and her husband picked them up from the airport and brought them out here to the valley where I live and the rest of my sisters live. And that day, one of my sisters had gone to go get my mom. And so all of us met up at a brew pub and had a really nice Friday evening together. And it was really good to see this old friend and get better acquainted with her husband. They've only been together a few years now, and we've just met him, or I had just met him once before. So then the next day we had plans to get together for our spring family birthdays. And so the people in my generation, my sisters and brothers-in-law, and sometimes my mom, if she's around, we get together and celebrate our birthdays sort of in bunches, I always say, usually fall, winter, spring. And so my sister from Toronto celebrating her birthday next month. Cameron had his last month, and mine was on Monday. And so the plan was to meet at my oldest sister's house and bring appetizers to share. And now I will say that running through my mind was the notion that perhaps it would be more of a party because it's my 60th birthday. When my next oldest sister turned 60 about a year and a half ago, what we planned for her was to get together. The premise was we're getting together for fall birthdays, and then after we'd finished our little celebration, then friends and family started arriving and surprised her. So it went through my mind that maybe that's what might happen. On the other hand, as I think I mentioned last week, it's my 60th birthday this year. It's also our 40th anniversary coming up in July. And we'd had a discussion, my husband and I, about not doing much for Christmas and birthdays and putting that money towards a trip somewhere this year to celebrate both occasions. Well, he's not a very good listener because apparently he's been planning a party and a trip for quite a while. And so I wasn't sure though. As the week was coming, was progressing, I'm thinking, well, the place we were having the party, there's not a ton of parking. I couldn't really see a big party happening there. On the other hand, I think it was on Friday, my sister who had come from Toronto said something about, oh, well, I'll see all your kids tomorrow. And I was like, no, it's just us. And I guess what I know now is behind me, where I couldn't see, my husband's going like, and so there were just little things that made me think maybe, but then I kept counteracting that with, but I can't really see that happening at her place. If there was going to be a big party, it would probably be somewhere else, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, when I arrived at at my sister's house, immediately my sister, who just turned 60 last, presented me with her 60 tiara and something about fabulous 60 or something sash. So I got to feel like a beauty queen right away, and I'll put a picture here. I was doing the royal wave to my brother-in-law who took the picture. And apparently, I didn't realize I had walked right past this big banner about things that happened in 1964. But I still was like, I don't know. My sister had the table kind of pushed back from where it usually is to make more room, but then there were more of us this time than there usually are. And I looked and I saw, oh, there's only this many plates, and there was just a little cup full of forks, and there was only enough for us. So I kept still going, okay, on one hand this, on the other hand this. And it wasn't until the first extra guests arrived that I knew, okay, yes, this is more than just a family spring birthday get together. But before that happened, I'll back up. So as I was opening gifts, they had me open all of mine together. And these were from my sisters and their spouses and my mom. And as I opened things, it was all different gift cards for $60 for different things. So the first one I think I opened was from my mom, and it was to a garden center here. And I think the next one might have been to a yarn shop, and one was Amazon, one was a local restaurant, and then the other was the bird store where we buy all our bird seed and feeders and things. And as I'm opening these, I'm saying, wow, you guys sure know me well. And it wasn't until like the day after that I found out that it was all coordinated. I should have known. So they all decided, well, what kind of things can we get her that, you know, touch on her interests? And then they all did a $60 amount. So that was really, really cool. And so as we're kind of finishing up present opening, because it was, like I say, my husband's and my other sister's birthday too, so they opened their gifts, and we had just literally finished, and out of the corner of my eye, I caught out the window, I saw our younger son, and then I saw my brother-in-law and sister-in-law from Victoria. And that's when I knew, because I thought, oh, maybe it'll just be the rest of our family. Maybe that's how my sister had messed up, thinking she'd see my kids. I thought, oh, maybe just because of space constraints or parking constraints, maybe they just visit, you know, maybe they've just invited like our kids and grandkids. Nope, there was my brother-in-law and sister-in-law, and then I knew, okay, the party's on. And then all of a sudden, there's more food coming out and more dishes and more things, and people just started arriving. So it was all of our kids and grandkids and some friends, and yeah, it was just great. And then later on, unexpectedly, I sort of thought everyone had arrived, and then two of my aunts came in, my mom's sisters, and they had been out in the valley with some other of her, with some other relatives for another event, and my sister had told her about it, and they came over. So it was just so fun. It was just so fun. We got some really nice photos. One of our good friends used to work in a couple of different photo studios, so she's used to doing family portraits. So got her to arrange us on the stairs and got a really nice family picture, which I'm going to frame. And then before she arrived, we had done some family pictures too, like all the sisters and husbands together, all the sisters and my mom together, and so lots of good photographic memories from that too. So just looking at my notes, so I'll show you. Okay, I did get a couple of yarny gifts. One, as I mentioned, was a gift certificate to a Vancouver yarn shop called Bad Anna's, which I've never been to before. So I might have to make a trip down there, or I can spend it online too. Or Fibers West is coming up next weekend, and they're going to be there, as well as lots and lots of other vendors. I just haven't decided for sure if I'm going to go. I've been trying really hard this year not to buy yarn, and I have loads of fun projects right now and plans for the year, and I'm not really craving new yarn. And I know if I go, I'm not going to not buy things. I mean, let's just be realistic about that. So, not sure. It sounds like we're going to be getting together with our family that day for dinner. And depending on whether it's going to be here or at our son's, I may need to be home to get some things done anyway. So that's to be determined. Anyway, blah, 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 blah. Told you, stream of consciousness type of episode. Anyway, I received from our daughter's family, in addition to a really cool book, this skein of yarn from Manos del Uruguay. It's Marla, and it's colorway. Oh, I cannot read that very well. No, it's really tiny, and I don't have my reading glasses on. Anyway, it is 100% superwash merino. There's about 250 meters on here. Looks like probably a DK weight yarn. And I do know, I looked up, it's the, I think it's Spice colorway or something like that. Anyway, look how gorgeous that is. Looks like a lot like the spin cycle yarn. So I do not know what I'm going to make out of it. I'm thinking maybe a hat. Wouldn't that be pretty? Oh, look, it matches my top pretty well here too. Yeah, I'm thinking maybe a hat or a cowl. It's super soft, super soft. Anyway, that was gorgeous. Does she know my colors or what? And then, as I mentioned last week, it sounded like Cameron, well, I knew Cameron was planning something in regards to our trip because I had tried to engage him in conversation about it a little while ago, and he humored me for the first evening. And we were looking at all sorts of different places we might go, and I suspected nothing. And then when I brought it up, I think a few days later, it's like, we really got to figure out if we're going to be booking things, blah, blah, blah. And then he kind of just went, I've got it covered, okay? It's like, oh, okay. So I suspected that once everyone had arrived at this party that perhaps he might announce where we were going. So he handed me a beautiful card and a gift, and I opened it up, and it was a picture frame, like a hinged picture frame. And on one side, spoiler, was the Eiffel Tower, and on the other side was a picture of the Louvre and a picture of the two of us above that together, and it said, "You and me, 2024." So we're going to Paris. He has not made, or he did not make specific travel plans. He wanted me involved in that. He's been talking to a travel agent, getting some idea about flights and hotels, but he wanted, and he thought May or June, but he wanted my input as to, all of those things. And so we've been talking about it off and on over the last couple of days. Finally, with everyone gone home and life sort of starting to settle into normal. It hasn't actually, it's been a busy week too. He's been out a couple of nights this week, and we were out Monday night curling. And so tonight is our first night where we are both home for the entire evening, and we're going to have dinner and then pull out the computer and start nailing down some details. But one thing we have determined is that our younger son and his girlfriend are going to Europe in June, kind of mid-June. And one of the places where they are finishing out their trip is Amsterdam. And I had not really thought about coordinating with them, but as we were looking at places we might go besides Paris, because my husband had said, I thought we might spend a few days in Paris and then a few days somewhere else. And we're looking at the different options, and I had the map up and realized that, Amsterdam's not that far away, and looked it up. I think it's about 3.5 hours by train. And I said, well, mate, you know what? We should go to Amsterdam. We have flown in and out of the airport there a few times, but never actually gotten out of the airport. And then he said, I was talking to our son Colin, and he kind of joked about, we should meet up while we're both there. And then I was like, we really should. That would be very cool. So I found out when they were going to be in Amsterdam, and as it turns out, they're flying out from there on the 22nd of June. And so then sort of all the wheels have been turning. And so I think we've pretty well decided that we're going to sort of go mid-June to Paris, and then take the train up to Amsterdam and fly home from there. Whether or not we end up on the same flight, or whether or not we just overlap for a couple days, to be determined. I think it's going to depend on flight availability, cost, etc. since we're not flying in and out of the same city round trip, it may be more expensive, in which case it might be cheaper for us to just train back to Paris and fly out from there, because it's not that expensive. Anyway, all of that's to be determined. We'll kind of go through some things tonight. I know we've already talked about some of the things we want to do. We have been in Paris before. We were there for 3 days, 3 full days and 4 nights back in 2007. So we've done the Eiffel Tower, we've done Notre Dame, Sacré-Cœur, the Louvre, the Musée d'Orsay, Versailles. So we've hit all the big ones. But one thing, I remember my dad saying, if you can, you need to go to the very top of the Eiffel Tower. And the circumstances were such that we just didn't. We were with another couple, one of Cameron's work colleagues and his wife. It was after one of his work trips that we flew from Barcelona, where the cruise ended, and went to Paris for a few days. And so we spent some time with this other couple that we've known for a long time. So the first evening that we got there, we went and had dinner, and then we walked down to the Eiffel Tower and went up. But it was getting late, and there was quite a lineup, and we still wanted to do a river cruise that evening. And so we did not. We only went up to the second floor. And so I said, we've got to go to the top floor of the Eiffel Tower this time for my dad. And so we are doing that for sure. Another thing we're going to do is go to the Moulin Rouge and see the show there. We're going to go back to the Louvre, because how can you not? And I'm going to seek out a yarn shop. I know at one time Le Bien-Aimé was there. It looks like they're not open anymore, but there is a shop that carries their yarn. But I said to Cameron, if I'm in Paris, I want to go there. And then I started looking into it. But yeah, those are the things we've planned. And then just to have some time to literally just go walk along a river or sit at a cafe, all those things. Our trip last time was so jam-packed because we only had 3 full days and we were trying to pack everything into it. This time we have a little more time. And what was I going to say? I feel like there was... what was I going to say? Yeah, so we're going to kind of figure out what we want to do. And then we haven't even looked at Amsterdam to all the things. But I am going to Stephen and Penelope because, again, how can you not go there as a knitter and not go to that yarn shop? But we'll figure out with our son and his girlfriend what they want to do. And they're only there, I think it's 1 full day. They arrive the day before that, fly out the next day. So we'll have 1 full day together, but they may have things that they want to do that that we don't or whatever. So we'll see how much time we actually spend together, but definitely we'll spend some time together. So lots and lots of planning to do. So we're going to sit down tonight with the computer, kind of brainstorm what things we want to do, and then I will get in touch with the travel agent and we'll start working out some details. One last thing regarding that. So my mom always sends us a check for our birthday, and in addition, so she did mail me a card with a check in it, in addition to giving me the gift certificate to the garden center at the party. And so what I decided is, because of Paris being the theme, that's where we're headed, I got a new charm for my Pandora bracelet with her birthday money, and thought the Eiffel Tower would be appropriate. Not only have I already been there, but it sort of symbolizes our whole birthday/anniversary celebrations. And when I went to put on my bracelet, I was like, if you want to put a charm like way over here, you have to take all the rest off and all the clips and stuff. So I actually looked at my bracelet and I thought, it would fit right here at the end. So I only had to take off 2 charms. So this is my birthstone one, and this is one that Cameron gave me for our, oops, it's upside down. This is one that Cameron gave me for our 30th anniversary. It says happy anniversary on the back. Whoops. And so I thought, well, how perfect is that too? It can sit in between that for my birthday and our anniversary celebrations. So yeah, that'll just be a great reminder of this time. And then, so actually, I said I was done, but to continue the fun, we, on Sunday, this was the other thing. So my brother-in-law and sister from Toronto were staying here. And as I was doing last minute housework and stuff, getting ready for them, I was in this room, and when I had been sitting in here last week recording a sock season episode, I noticed how it had some cobwebs, and it needed a vacuum in here because this room doesn't get used much. And so I came in here, vacuumed, and then when my brother-in-law and sister-in-law from Victoria showed up, and I said, oh, where are you staying? And they said, your house. And I guess Cameron had already arranged that they would sleep in here, so my sister-in-law slept in the bed here, and my brother-in-law had brought a mattress thing for the floor. So I was thinking, oh, thank goodness I vacuumed that room, because it really did need it. And then apparently, I guess when, you find all these things out after the fact. So when we talked about my mom coming down, and I was saying to Cameron, or maybe I even put out to my sisters, like, she could stay here because then she and Jacqueline could spend more time together and blah, blah, blah. And apparently my husband's hearing all this or as I'm talking out loud and all this, and he's messaging my sister to say, no, Trevor and Linda are staying here. She can't stay here. We don't have room. And so my sister sort of came up with this thing of, like, they were picking her up anyway, and she hadn't stayed at their house for a while. They hadn't had much time with her, so she was going to stay there. So it was like all these things happening on the fly. Quite fun. So anyway, they had to go home the next day, so the 6 of us that were here went out for brunch, and then that afternoon we went over to our nephew's place. They had just moved into, this is the one that had the baby last year. Her first birthday's coming up next week. That's the one I made the quilt for and stuff. So they've been renting quite a small apartment, and they've now found a basement suite that's it's not like an underground basement suite. They've got a big deck that overlooks the valley. It's built into the side of a hill, so part of it is like underground, but the majority of it is light and bright and has this deck and a gorgeous view and lots of room, and they're expecting again in July, and so it'd be great to have lots more room for the kids to run around and all of that. So we went over to see their place, left my sister and brother-in-law there while we went off grocery shopping, because yes, there are jobs that still need to be done, and then the 4 of us went out to a brew pub for dinner. So that was a lovely Sunday. And then Monday, I met my sisters and my mom for lunch at a restaurant downtown here. And then while we were having lunch, 3 of the brothers-in-law were having lunch at a brew pub just down the street. And the weather all weekend was just spectacular. I was in capris and sandals and a short sleeve top that day. I had taken a jacket and ended up putting it back in the car when we kind of walked around for a while. It was just glorious weather the whole time they were here. And then the weather turned on I guess on Tuesday. Started to cloud over and we've had a little bit of rain, but nothing too bad. Okay, I think that's the end of all of that. So I came back from my birthday lunch to a quiet house because my sister and brother-in-law were flying home the next day, but I had curling the next morning, so I wasn't able to take them to the airport. Plus we had curling that night. And so she went home with another sister who was gonna take her to the airport. So, or they did, I should say. So I thought I had just a few hours to myself on the afternoon of my birthday. And after I showed you that gorgeous green yarn last episode, I had several of you encourage me to just go ahead and cast it on. So you know what I did? I wound up the yarn and I did a swatch, which I think is in here. Let me show you. Yes. Look at that. Isn't it amazing? And I've washed it and blocked it and it's super soft, super drapey. And so the next day I cast on the Burmese Basic 18 by Beth McDonald Stone. Yes, Beth McDonald Stone. And I know she has a video podcast, but I haven't checked it out yet, but I fully intend to. So the 18 in this, the name of this sweater, it refers to a gauge of 18 stitches over 4 inches, which is exactly what I got on a 4.5 millimeter needle. So the yarns, to refresh your memory, I'm just gonna be throwing things all over the place here. So I had bought years ago 2 skeins of this yarn. It's from the Mineville Wool Project, which my understanding is it's a offshoot of Fleece Artist. This is 100% merino DK single ply, and there are 250 grams and 500 meters on each of the cake, or in each of the skeins. I had bought 2 skeins. Now you'll notice they are quite different in color, so I am alternating. And then I'm combining that with some 100% merino lace weight yarn from Fleece Artist. This is Saldana. That's how you spell it. Hopefully you can see that. Oh yeah. And this is the cedar colorway. And again, interestingly, I wound it up and then I divided it into 2. And yeah, you can see there. There's also a difference in in this case, the 2 halves of the same skein. So what I decided to do is pair up the dark lace with the light yarn, and then the light yarn, or light lace. Oops, my bracelet's caught here in this yarn. Hang on. Put that up there. Anyway, I'll put the light lace with the darker yarn, and that way, you know, there'll be a pretty good blend of color throughout. At least that's the plan. And I cast on, and I did the 2.5 inches of ribbing, and then the short rows at the back. And then I have done up to the 2nd increase. So there's the front. See if I can unroll it. Of course, it's stockinette, so it rolls up. Yeah, I think it's knitting up really nice so far. I'm not sure. I know when I told you that I was inspired to knit this by seeing Linda's from For the Fun of Knit podcast. And her neck was quite wide. And I don't think even after blocking mine is going to be nearly as wide. I think the most it's going to get to is about there. I actually tried this on, and the way it sits right now, it's kind of like a mock neck, which I don't mind either. So I may decide to knit the yoke longer and have this as a mock neck, which I think would look really nice. On the pattern, this is how, got yarn twisted here around my handle here, hang on. This is how it looks on the pattern page. So you can see it's meant to be worn here, which would also be very nice. So we'll just kind of see how it goes. But yeah, I had fun working on that. Hang on a second, I've just got, oh brother. It's kind of like I was showing you last week with my mystery cowl, and I've got yarn everywhere. Yeah, okay, this is all twisted. I'm not gonna do any more with it. I'm gonna end up with a bigger mess. I have put it in here, but yeah, I've got yarn hanging out in there. It's going through the straps or the handles. Yeah, I've gotta tidy that up. So this is gonna be one of those work on it when I feel like it kind of projects, just because I've got lots of other things happening now, but it's cast on, so now it's just increasing for the yoke. There are instructions to do the sleeves either straight or tapered. I plan to taper them as I normally or usually do. And then Linda had said her body was A-line, and I don't know if she made it A-line herself or if she just knit it as written, which is actually straight. But I think I might knit mine with some body increases and make it A-line, because I really like the way my coffee break fit. So we'll see. But yeah, look, I just love it. I'm so happy that this is all working out. And thank you to those of you who gave me the encouragement, because I was being too strict with myself. Sometimes you got to give in to those impulses, right? Especially when they don't hurt anybody. So that's brought me a lot of joy, as have my socks. These are my all sorts of fun socks, which seems appropriate since I've had all sorts of fun this past week. I have two socks that look like this. I didn't actually get a lot done. I had planned to maybe do the heels before company came. That didn't happen, but I did get the heels done this week. And I did an Eye of Partridge heel, just because I thought it would show up nicely on that plain light yarn. So this is the Turtle Pearl yarn, striped turtle toes. It is a 75/25 superwash merino nylon yarn, and this colorway is called All Sorts of Fun. And when my sister was here, I brought these out and I said, does this remind you of anything? And she's like, yes, give me a minute, I need to think about it. And then like within a second, she's like, licorice all sorts. And I'm like, yes, they are. And then I asked her if this was something she would wear, and she said yes. So I'm going to use my leftovers to knit her a pair for her birthday next year. And so this skein I did buy as a set. It came with this pink yarn, which I'm just using for the heels. Well, I might use it for the heels and toes in order to have more of the actual licorice all sort yarn left over to do a second pair of socks. And that pair I will do from the toe up and supplement. I think this yarn, I feel like, I know I said it when I first got it. I don't think it says on the label, but I think it was about, is it 30 or 40 grams? Like it's a it's a big amount. It wasn't just a 20-gram mini. So between the regular skein and this, like, there's definitely enough for 2 pairs of socks. So yeah, having all sorts of fun with these. Did I say that already? Maybe. Bad joke, but you know. And then I did work some. I didn't get much knitting done when over the weekend when people were here. We just weren't here that much. And when we were doing other things. My sister got me on to doing Wordle and connections and the spelling bee from the New York Times app. And so I have subsequently subscribed and have been doing those every day and quite enjoying them. We were doing them together with her husband, and then Cameron would come by now and then and offer a word for the spelling bee. Those aren't really his things so much, but we really enjoyed doing that together. Anyway, I've got a little bit more done on my yarn from Fiber Nymph Dye Works Lepidoptera Club. This is the Blue Morpho colorway. And I should say that both pairs of plain vanilla socks are 64 stitch top down with a 2x2 rib. I'm not sure if I'm going to do, I think I may do a short row heel on these. Not sure, but I do know that the yarn came with 2 mini skeins, 2 20-gram mini skeins, and I'm going to do the heel with one color and the toe with the other. And then, as I mentioned last week, I should have enough to do 2 squares for my blanket of cheer using leftovers of these and this. So not sure, 100% sure if I'm doing heel flap and gussets or short row heels, but probably I'll do the, haven't decided which color I'm doing for which. I'll decide when I get there. I guess I could do one on, you know, kind of do alternate ones. One on like the blue on one and the light gray on the other. But I don't know if I think I'd rather probably match up the heels and the toes. Kind of matchy-matchy as a rule, in case you haven't noticed. All right, one more actual work in progress. Spoiler alert, I'm going to show clues 1 and 2 and part of clue 3 from the Line Dance MKAL by Lisa K. Ross of Paper Daisy Creations. And I'll do that in a minute after I see who is on the phone. As I've shown you before, for this mystery cowl, I pulled out 5 balls of yarn from my sock yarn leftovers. And in order from dark to light are colors 1 through 5. I'm a little nervous because I might be close, I will be close on colors 2 and 3, hoping I don't run out. And if you're interested in what specific yarns these are, they are listed on my Ravelry project page, which I will provide a link for down below in the description, along with all the other projects that I talk about today. So I think last episode I told you that I accidentally knit clue 1 with 2 different sized needle tips from my interchangeable needle set, a 2.75 and a 3.25. I had intended to use 3.25 throughout. And once I realized that, I took a closer look at the fabric and realized it was uneven because it was alternating between larger stitches and smaller stitches. So I decided to bite the bullet and re-knit clue 1. And I'm really glad I did. because it's a much nicer, smoother fabric. Plus, it was a lot easier to do these this stitch. You have to knit 3 through the back of the loop on the return trip, and it's going through 2 stitches and a yarn over, and it was very hard. It was really fiddly on the first time around, but then I realized that I believe, trying to go into a stitch knit with a 2.75 millimeter needle with a 3.25 millimeter needle, which made it just that much harder. So this time around, I knew about it. I purposely didn't knit my stitches too tightly, and I found it a lot easier. I don't remember if I had finished Clue 1 last time or not, for the second time around. I think I was in the middle of it. So I did finish up. I know I had finished Clue 2, so that's here to refresh your memory. And now we've started joining the 2, and I'm not quite sure, I still haven't figured out how the whole cowl is going to come together, but we've started joining the, well, you can see the point of Clue. Now hang on a second. Yeah, we've started at the point, the bottom point of Clue 2, where it got attached to the outer point of Clue 1, and now we are doing this wedge of stripes in between the 2 and eating up stitches on this this side of the point as we go. I know, confusing. So this is what it looks like. I mean, it's, I don't know, does it go this way? Like I was looking at it, and then I thought, oh, maybe we do this. I still have not quite figured it out. But what we're doing is different stripes of different colors. So we began with color 1, doing this garter stitch stripe, little piece of lint on there. Then there is this bobble stripe with color 2. This is color 4, so it's a twisted rib. Color 5, or color 3, I should say. Color 3 are alternating stripes of stockinette and garter. Then, looking ahead, we repeat this stripe and this stripe. And then it finishes out with I think it's a lace section with using color 5, which is just this plain silvery gray. And that'll be the end of Clue 3. So I'll be interested to see how it all comes together in the end. I thought it was supposed to be a bandana cowl, but maybe it's, but then, well, I think that's what it said. I don't know. I have not figured it out yet. And that's part of the fun and the mystery. What I do know is I love how all these colors are working together. Super happy with my choices. So just, yeah, crossing fingers and toes that I have enough to finish. Welcome back if you skipped through the spoiler for the Line Dance MKAL. Now I have another spoiler section for the 24 Birds MKAL by Helen Stewart of Curious Handmade. I have not done any actual knitting, but I am going to talk about Clue 1 and the shawl. And so if you do not want to be spoiled, skip ahead again. So this morning I got up and had Clue 1 for this shawl in my inbox. And yesterday we received an an email that said if you want to know what shape the shawl is going to be, because it hadn't been released yet, go to the pattern page on Ravelry, scroll all the way down, the secret will be revealed. And it turns out it is a circular pie shawl. So I think almost always Helen's mystery shawls, they've often, or not always, but often been semicircles or really deep triangles. So that'll be fun to do a circular shawl. I haven't done one for a long time. And from what it looks like so far, it looks like color 1 is then going to fade into color 2. And I get the sense, I don't know if it's something I read on either the pattern or the project page, but I think it might be basically a gradient with your final color as a feature, but I don't know that for sure. So I've shown you before the yarns I was considering, and I wound them up, I think yesterday or the day before. It dawned on me that if I was going to start this today, that I better wind my yarn. So I have, let's see here, I'm using a merino single ply. This is from, see if my labels are all here. Sorry, I'm a little disorganized with this one. Okay, this is from Sweet Fiber, Sweet Merino Light in the smoke colorway. And I have this left over from my Simple Stripes pullover. So that is color 1. Color 2, I have 2 different color combinations that I'm considering. So I'm going to show both of them to you. Color 2 in one of the iterations is this yarn from Gelen Yarns. And I got this as part of a box of winter themed yarns from Knit City a few years ago. This is Belle, which is 75% merino, 15% cashmere, and 10% silk. And the colorway is Winter Wonders. And I will say, when it was in the skein, and even, well, when it was in the skein, it was like, okay, I was kind of underwhelmed, but I thought it was a good neutral because I really wanted this shawl to kind of be neutrals. But when I started winding it, like, it was so much more complex than I thought. And I'm not sure if this lighting is even doing it justice. It has a pink and gold and blue and silver. I think the pink might be coming off more as beige in the camera. I'll know once I start editing it. But it's a very beautiful, complex yarn, way more so than I thought. So I'm considering that for color 2. Then I had leftovers, quite a bit of leftovers from, of Madeline Tosh Merino Light, which is also 100% superwash merino fingering weight in the rainwater colorway. So I had a whole bunch of bibs and bobs that matched up one skein. You can see they're quite different. 2 different dye lots, I think purchased at 2 different times actually. But what I end up doing is saying, enough of all these little scraps. I'm just going to alternate these 2 skeins, and that would give me plenty for the shawl. If I need to, I can dip into, this bag of leftovers. But I think I would rather just work from these 2 skeins. So that would be color 3. And then in both instances, this would be color 4. Hope you can see the blue in there, black and blue. This is also from, Tosh Merino Light. And I don't know where the tag is. Maybe in here. I think it's called Thunderstorm. I'll see if I have the label here. Rainwater, rainwater. Yes, Thunderstorm. There we go. And this is my swatch from when I used it on my sweater originally. So hopefully you can see how it looks knit up. That should do it. So, that's one possibility, and I'm going to show them to you together. So, and especially now that I've wound up this this variegated skein. Okay, this is going to be tricky. So you can see, oops, hopefully, how well they go. So this would fade from here to here, and this would be the contrast. Okay? My other option is to use this skein of Tosh Merino Light in the Odyssey colorway. In which case, this would be 1, 2, 3, 4. Right now, my first choice is this one. I'm going to see how it works up. And if I don't like how it looks, then I will switch it up and see how the other looks. But, oops, I've got the wrong one. Sorry, this one. That's my that's my first choice. Okay, so by next week, or not next week, 2 weeks from now, next episode, whenever that happens to be, I will have by then done clue 1 and maybe even clue 2. So we'll see where it goes from there. Okay, I'm gonna put this, putting this in this bag that I made. Planning to cast that on later today. I need to do like a circular cast on to start, and then you work your way out. So that is going to be tons of fun too. I am just so excited about all my knitting projects right now, and I just want to work on them all the time. And of course, life doesn't work that way. We did have curling Monday night, as I mentioned, and then on Tuesday morning was our last game for my Tuesday morning ladies curling, and then we had a luncheon after with a meeting about next year, and I'll be coming back next year curling with my sister again and the woman who was playing third, but we have a new team member. The other decided to go to spare for this league, but to curl regularly on a different day with her husband. So looking forward to next year. And then this coming Monday night is my final Monday night curling. And then curling's done for the year. And that Wednesday is the first ball game. And so we're going right from curling right into ball. So typical sort of transition from winter to spring activity for us for the last number of years. I guess, well, we took a couple of years off from curling during COVID, but we didn't play ball or curl that year, or those years. Anyway, before I go, just to talk a little bit about the make-alongs that are taking place in the Ravelry group. We've had some new members. Welcome, welcome. So the Smash the Stash is a year-long chatter thread, super casual make-along to take part in. Just chat about and show what you are making from your yarn, pattern, and fiber stash. And every 3 months, I'll randomly draw a prize from that group. That one will be a pattern prize. I'm going to continue doing I'll probably, okay, I'm not going to say right now. I'm going to do patterns that are giftable on Ravelry, and I'll determine the dollar figure once I've got to kind of work some prize stuff out. Then Sweater Weather, which is happening right now, is the first of 4 quarterly make-alongs. It comes to a close March 31st. At the end of that day, probably it'll be sometime the next morning, I will close that thread, and then I'll announce a winner from both the chatter thread and the finished objects thread in the first regular episode in April. So watch for that if you've been participating. And then on April 1st, the Accessorize It quarterly make-along will begin. And unlike the Sweater Weather, works in progress are not permitted, but it's all sorts of accessories, hats, scarves, shawls. Let me see what I wrote down earlier, just so I make sure I'm consistent with this. I know I wrote down things in my here. Yeah, hats, mittens, fingerless mitts, gloves, scarves, cowls, shawls. If you can think of something else that you think might legitimately fit into that category and I haven't included it, ask questions, because as often happens, I don't always remember, or I can't think of everything. And sometimes you guys bring something up that I just haven't thought of. Just to forestall some of those questions though, the July to September one is going to be Rock Your Socks, which will be footwear. So that's where socks, slippers, leg warmers, etc. will fit in there. So they are not considered an accessory. So if you can think of something else that I haven't included in that brief description, bring it to my attention, please. And that will run basically the same as the Sweater Weather make-along. You'll have a starting post in the chatter thread and an FO post in the FO thread, which is a no chatter thread, and I will draw prizes from each. And as I mentioned, again, just to emphasize, no whips in this one because they're small enough. 3 months is plenty of time to knit a hat or a scarf or a shawl, unlike a sweater, which takes some people longer than that. Thinking of myself, I did manage to finish 2 out of 3 of my sweaters. It's doubtful I'm going to get my 3rd one done now that I've got the 2 mystery knit-alongs happening and cast on another sweater. That's okay. Don't forget that if you do not finish your sweater during the Sweater Weather make-along, if you put it on hold and want to pick it up again in October, if you began it in the Sweater Weather Cal, it will count for the last make-along of the year, which is all of the above. So yeah, keep that in mind if you're not going to finish. It's getting warmer for most of us, at least here in the Northern Hemisphere, and so maybe you don't have as much motivation to finish it now anyway, and maybe that's a great project to pick up again in the fall. So keep that in mind. My something good, just an amazing birthday weekend celebration. How lucky am I that I had 4 days of family time and friends and being spoiled and amazing weather. Like, I could not have asked for a better 4 days. And yeah, they were just amazing and memorable. And then I have this amazing trip to look forward to later this spring. So just my cup runneth over. Thank you so much for watching today. Thanks again for all the birthday greetings. all of the kind comments all of the time. Sock season will be coming out again this coming Sunday. Last Sunday we'd gone out for brunch, and it wasn't till I got home I thought, oh, I haven't put sock season up yet. So I excused myself and quickly left the room so I could do that. But yes, there's a few more weeks of that left, so look for that. And otherwise, I will see you for another regular episode, most likely 2 weeks from now. It definitely will not be next week, but I feel like I should have some more free time the following week. So watch for a regular episode then. Take care until then. Enjoy your projects, and yeah, thanks again for everything. Bye for now.